All right. Hello, everybody. And welcome to this little workshop. I am talking about the perimenopause body solutions method. So essentially how to look and feel your best over the age of 35 without feeling deprived and without going to extremes. And before I get going here, I'm just going to make sure that this is working. I'm always a little bit nervous when I go live from Zoom that I'm the only one here, but I believe that it's working. So if you are catching this, if you're seeing this, please say hello to me in the comments so that I know that you can see this. And then I am going to make sure that I am sharing the right screen here. So let me just do that again. Okay, this is what I want to share. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's, I'm going to dive in right away because I want to try and keep this to under 30 minutes because I know that you ladies are very busy. So what I want to do is, well, number one, I want to be able to, oh boy, you got to love technology, right? Why is that not moving? Come on, I just want to be able to, oh boy, technology, ladies. This is the fun things. Okay, there we go. From beginning, that should work. Okay, can we move? Yes, we can. All right, perfect. We're there. One day I'm going to be able to do this very seamlessly, but I'm not quite there yet. Okay, so goals for this workshop. So in the next 30 minutes, my goal is, this is meant for some of the women who have recently joined the group. These are topics that I talk about all the time inside this group, but maybe you've never seen me talk about them all at once. And so I wanted to create a little workshop to give you a little bit of a summary of, the strategies that I use for myself with my clients, my philosophy around nutrition, just give you sort of like a little bit of a bird's eye view of really my methods, so that you can start to piece together what you might need to do if you are struggling with your weight. Maybe you've just hit 40 and suddenly you're like, oh my God, what I used to do doesn't work anymore. Or maybe you have less energy, or maybe you've just started noticing like poor mood, or maybe your joints are hurting, or whatever it may be, right? There's a reason that you that you join the group. And so what I want to show you is really how, if you dial in your nutrition and your lifestyle, and today we're going to be talking specifically about nutrition, but the goal, I believe, for women is I want to show you that you can work with your changing hormones to look and feel your best. If you understand the landscape, if you understand what's happening to your body, then you can tweak your nutrition and your lifestyle accordingly, so that you can continue to look and feel your best. And then the second thing that I want you to see is that you do not need to go on extreme diets. You do not need to eat 1,200 calories a day. You don't have to fast until dinner, and you do not have to do hours and hours of cardio in order to get results. If you are brand new around here, and maybe this is the first time you've seen me live, just a very quick introduction. So my name is Haley, obviously. And I am a perimenopause fat loss coach. I do also help women post-menopause, but I have a tendency towards the women in perimenopause. I myself am in perimenopause. I'm a precision nutrition coach. I am a specialist in metabolic health, specific to women, in coaching different dietary strategies, including intermittent fasting and carb cycling, as well as a specialist in the female metabolism. And I've taken different courses and certifications in all of these different areas. And just to give you a little bit of my own background with hormones and all that fun stuff, I am back in my, like now, now I'm now 46. I'm going to be 47 in a matter of weeks here. And right now, I'm really happy with my energy. I'm really happy with my body composition. I'm really happy with my digestion. I really do feel like I look and feel my best for myself at this moment. But back in my 30s, it was a completely different story. I was, I was following Toscarinos, Eat Clean, and I was doing like as many workouts as I could, and I was always chasing after a six-pack because I was a personal trainer. And really, what happened is I didn't, I may have looked petite on the outside, but on the inside, I was not the healthiest version of myself. And I had IBS. I had terrible insomnia for, I can't even tell you how many years. I eventually got diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. I had infertility. I had 3 miscarriages before I finally had my child when I was 41. I had hypoglycemia. My blood sugar levels were all over the place. And really, I had like this layer of stubborn fat around my belly that I could not get rid of. And trust me, I've tried all kinds of stuff. Like I said, I was burning the candle at both ends. All of this led me to really start learning more and more about nutrition, about hormones, and about women, and about functional health and naturopathic medicine. And I really went down a rabbit hole. I continue to go down that rabbit hole. I've now been reading about this stuff to help myself and to help my clients for like over 10 years now. And what I've come to understand is, the typical diet, and by typical diet, what I mean is the diets that encourage you to eat less and move more, which is most diets out there. They're problematic. So number one is that they're not designed for women over the age of 35. They're designed for like younger men and women, but mainly men. And they do not take into account the sensitive nature of our hormones and of our metabolism. And I'm going to explain more about that as we go through. But for now, just know that. The second problem is that they're overly restrictive, right? Most of these, most typical diets are overly restrictive. They're trying to give you fast results, and they're really, really hard to maintain, which is why so many women are on a diet, off a diet, on a diet, off a diet, is because they're especially women, we have a tendency towards perfectionism. And so they're trying to give us these fast results. And sure, they do. But as you'll learn in this presentation, when we're losing weight really quickly, it also comes to an end really quickly. And then the third problem is that most of these diets, they rely on like these strict rules, and they rely on using willpower, and they're depriving you of your favorite foods. And you're not learning how to incorporate these things in moderation. And this is the other reason why they don't last. So what I want to show you is, again, I call it the PBS method. And it really has 4 different steps, or 4 different parts to it that we're going to talk about today. And the goal is to optimize your metabolism so that it's working as efficiently as possible, and it is burning fat if that is your goal. That we're balancing and supporting hormonal balance, and also creating a sustainable lifestyle, because I'm a really big believer that when it comes to managing your weight, you don't want to go on a diet and then go right back to what you were doing before. You've got to get to the root cause. You've got to get to the root cause of what caused the weight gain in the first place. And so that's why, for me, I want to get to the root cause, and I want to teach you how to create a lifestyle that's going to fix those root causes. Okay. So we're going to be going through from a nutrition perspective. I'm not going to dive into exercise today. I'm not going to dive into mindset. I'm really going to kind of stay focused on nutrition, but I want to teach you a little bit about the low carb formula and why I think it's the best for women over 35. I want to talk to you a little bit about hormone sensitive intermittent fasting, carb cycling, and intermittent energy restriction. Would love to know if you guys have heard of these different strategies before. I'm just looking at who's on here, so I can see Leah and Sandra and Erin and Joanne and Karen. Hello, Daniela. So hello to everyone. If you have heard of these different strategies, just put it in the comments. Let me know which ones you've heard of, just so that I have a little bit of a sense of what you know. And we're gonna jump in here. But first, I want to explain why weight loss is harder over the age of 35, because again, I think that it's really important to understand what is going on with our bodies as we start moving into perimenopause and the menopause transition, so that we can understand why we need a different approach, right? And so again, I have done entire workshops on this, and if you want to take a deeper dive, reach out to me and let me know, and I'll send you the link to that. But very quickly, so what is happening? So our sex hormones are changing. We all know that, right? So we're starting to see a decline in estrogen. We're seeing a decline in progesterone. We're also seeing a decline in testosterone, which is important for women, as well as DHEA and some of the hormones that stimulate our menstrual cycle. Like, everything is changing. Now, with all these changes, during this time, during this transition and perimenopause, just if you're one of the younger ladies joining, it starts at the age of about 35. And so a lot of us, I think a lot of women in their 40s don't really think about menopause, because they think that that's something that's going to happen in their 50s. But you need to start thinking about it in your 40s, because you are now in perimenopause, which are the years leading up to menopause. And it's, it's kind of like everything happens on a dial, right? So it starts in your late 30s to early 40s, and it really kind of ramps up as you head into your 50s. But some of the things that are happening as these changes, as these sex hormones start to change, is a lot of women develop insulin resistance. And insulin resistance, without going into details here, it's a simplified way of explaining it is we can't tolerate carbs the way we used to. And so when we eat them, it spikes our insulin, and insulin tells the body to store energy. And the body can only store or burn. And so if we're eating carbs all the time, we're always storing, we're never burning. And that can be a really big cause of weight gain. Progesterone is dipping. And what that does is progesterone protects us against the effects of cortisol, which is another fat storing hormone. So as we start losing progesterone, which is one of the first hormones to dip, we become more stress reactive. We start to produce more cortisol. It starts to send weight right around our midsection. Estrogen dominance is another big one. If you don't know too much about perimenopause, your hormones start to fluctuate, and it's kind of like when you're in your teen years. They're up, they're down, they're all over the place. Progesterone drops, and for most women, it is a period of time when they are estrogen dominant, which is another sort of root cause of stubborn weight loss. This is also a time in our life where we have a tendency to develop hypothyroidism. So your thyroid, if that name is new to you, your thyroid basically regulates the speed of your metabolism. And as women move towards menopause, oftentimes it just doesn't work as well as it used to. And that can cause, again, a slowing of the metabolism, which can make weight loss a bit harder. Ghrelin is another hormone that changes. Ghrelin is our hunger hormone, and it tends to go up during perimenopause. And a lot of women report in their 40s that they're hungrier than ever, and they have more cravings, and they feel like their appetite is a little bit out of control, and that has to do with that hormone. Inflammation. We have a tendency to develop more inflammation during perimenopause, which is another thing that makes weight loss harder. Sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle mass loss, especially in women that are dieting, or women that are not doing any kind of strength training. We start to lose muscle mass, and muscle mass is key to maintaining your weight because it's so metabolically active. And then finally, I think life just catches up to us, right? Like your dieting history catches up to you, and potentially what you did in your teens and in your 20s and in your 30s, well, it catches up. And now by the time you hit 40, you get the repercussions of your habits earlier on. So all that to say, and you might be like, okay, Haley, well, with all of that happening, how on earth do we manage our weight? And what I want to say, the first thing I want to say, and I think I made that clear at the beginning, is We don't need another diet, right? We don't need another 30-day challenge where we work out twice a week twice a day. And, we try to limit our calories. That's not what we need. What we need is to make a lifestyle change where we are supporting the changes that are happening, and we're supporting our hormones. We're supporting insulin levels, or healthy insulin levels, healthy cortisol, healthy thyroid, healthy adrenals, healthy estrogen, healthy progesterone, healthy ghrelin, right? We want to do all of that, and we want to do it all while protecting our metabolism, which is, protecting our muscle mass, protecting the speed of our metabolism, protecting our gut health, protecting our liver health, right? So we have to start to be a little bit smarter about our nutrition. And we've got to stop just thinking that it's all about the calories. And we have to sort of recognize that while calories matter, your metabolism and your hormones and how well your physiology is functioning is going to affect not only how many calories you take in, but what you do with those calories and how efficient your body is at utilizing those calories. So let's dive in, because again, I do want to keep this under 30 minutes. That is my goal. So step one. So when we're talking about nutrition, step one, this is the low carb formula. And basically what it comes down to is it's about tweaking your macros. Your macros are your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fat. And I am a really big believer that for women over the age of 35, shifting towards a lower carb approach can do wonders when it comes to weight management, because like I said, we start to develop insulin resistance as our estrogen levels decline and as we move into our 40s. And I have found that for myself, I shifted to low carb in my early 40s, and it has helped me in numerous ways. Managing my weight has been one of them. I weigh the exact same now as I did when I was 40 after I lost my baby weight. And so I feel like we do have some control. And I know a lot of doctors out there will tell you that weight gain is a normal part of menopause, and will tell you that you're just getting older and there's nothing you can do about it. Or they might tell you to eat less, exercise more. I'm here to tell you, I disagree. Okay, so what is the low carb formula? So essentially what we're doing is we are reducing our intake of carbohydrates to activate fat burning. So what do I mean by that? So essentially, again, this goes back to our history, our dieting history, or our history with food. Most of us have relied on carbohydrates for most of our lives. And what happens is that your body loves carbohydrates, but what can happen is that when you're constantly eating carbs and carbs and carbs and carbs and carbs, you become what is called metabolically inflexible. And so your body, in a sense, loses its ability to burn fat. It forgets how to do it. So one of the first things that I like to do is reduce intake of carbohydrates and basically force the body to have to utilize fat. And I do that without reducing calories, right? Because again, when most of us want to go and access stored energy in our fat cells, we're like, okay, let's just cut all our calories. And then, that 500 calories a day rule, I'm going to lose 1 pound a week. And as most of you probably know, that doesn't work. Actually, it can backfire, because again, if the body doesn't have the ability to access the fat that's in your fat cells, if it like physically can't access it, your body's going to think that you're starving, and it's just going to downregulate your metabolism. So we have to create that metabolic shift. We have to help the body learn how to access those fat stores. And we do that by reducing our intake of carbohydrates. And that will cause this metabolic shift that will shift the body into fat burning and shift the body into taking fat from your diet and from your fat cells and turning that into energy. The second thing we need adequate protein. I see this all the time. Women are simply not eating enough protein. We've got to get enough protein to protect our lean muscle mass and even stimulate building more muscle mass, because again, it's very metabolically active. And this is what is going to help us to live a long and healthy life. And I'm going to be diving into this on Friday in Friday's little mini workshop. So come back, we'll talk more about that one. Number 3, the third part of the low carb formula is to eat plenty of vegetables to get plenty of fiber. And fiber is important not only because it's actually a great food for keeping us full and satiated, especially when we're on a quest to lose weight, but fiber is also really important for our gut health and for making sure that we've got plenty of healthy bacteria in our gut, as well as important for the detoxification of toxins or estrogens, which all of this plays a role in our ability to lose weight. It's quite complex. And again, you know, it's so much more complicated than just calories in, calories out. There's lots of different elements. And as we age, a lot of these things start to malfunction. And that's why we've got to just pay a bit more attention, right? Because everything just starts to get old is essentially what's happening, right? And then the final thing is we want to make sure that we complete our meals with healthy fats. And this is where this is so important, because again, this is where the calories come in. And when I talk to women about low carb, you know, it's actually low carb healthy fats. And a lot of women hear the low carb, but they don't hear the healthy fats part. And a lot of us, if you're around my age, then you grew up in an era where fat was demonized, and potentially you're still sort of a little bit cautious about adding too much fat to your nutrition. But the low carb formula only works if you're adding more fat, because again, the goal, or what I tell my clients is, I want you to eat as much as possible and still lose weight, because that is what is going to protect the health of our metabolism, the speed of our metabolism, our thyroid functioning, our adrenals, our sex hormones. You do not want your body to think that for some reason you have no access to food. Again, as a woman, we're hypersensitive to caloric restriction. Our bodies kind of, go on red alert. So we have to be really careful there. So that is step 1. If you want to learn more about this, I have already done workshops on it, and I can direct you towards those. Okay, step 2. Again, I want to get through this pretty quickly here. So step 2 is hormone sensitive intermittent fasting. Not too much, not too little, but just right. And again, this is a mistake that I see. I see a lot of women who dive into intermittent fasting and think if a little bit of fasting is good, then a lot of fasting is going to be even better, and I'll see faster results. And unfortunately, this is not the case. Doing too much, like fasting too often or fasting too long, it can actually have a negative impact. It can backfire. It can be the cause of your weight loss resistance. And again, what this boils down to is just the fact that females are more sensitive to changes to their diet, right? And to caloric restriction. And there's something called the HBG axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary gonadal axis. It is the axis that stimulates your menstrual cycle. And when this is proven by research, that women in particular, when they are fasting, their body interprets that as a potential starvation, or maybe like a famine. And we start to produce a hormone called kisspeptin. And kisspeptin tells that HBG axis to wind everything down, like stop producing estrogen, stop producing progesterone, stop producing testosterone, like alert, 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 we can't have babies right now, this is bad. And most of you probably are like, well, who cares, Haley? I don't want to have babies. But yes, you do care, because these hormones, they have a huge role, not only in our ability to have babies, but in so many other things, like estrogen, just estrogen alone. It is, it'll protect you against inflammation. It'll protect you against insulin resistance. It'll protect you against cortisol. It'll protect your bone health. It'll protect you. It'll have a massive impact on where you gain weight. The moment that estrogen plummets, we have a tendency to see that belly fat. That's when it's like estrogen belly, right? So you want to keep those hormones even though you have no intent on having babies. Okay. So general rule of thumb when it comes to intermittent fasting and what I call hormone sensitive intermittent fasting is that the goal here is not caloric restriction. The goal is simply to have windows of time where our hormones are changing and there are things that are happening, like insulin's going down and blood glucose is going down and glucagon is going up. That's the goal of fasting. The goal of fasting is not to eat the least amount of calories as you possibly can. In fact, I would recommend against doing that. And as a general rule of thumb, the longer the fast, the less often you should do it. Okay, the longer the fast, the less often you should do it. A really nice, if you want to do some daily fasting, because I do think it's a great tool. I think everyone should be doing intermittent fasting, but on a daily basis, 12 to 14 hours is perfectly fine. I don't think women should be doing 16/8 every day. I definitely don't think women should be doing 2 meals a day, or OMAD, 1 meal a day every day. I think that is a recipe for stubborn weight management down the line. All right, step number 3 is carb cycling. So carb cycling, all this really is fluctuating, is diet variation. So again, I love low carb. I think it's great for women, but we need carbohydrates. We need carbohydrates. And so carb cycling just means that you're cycling in, you're cycling them in and out of your diet. And there's a number of different ways that you can do this. But I want to kind of just highlight why it's important, because I think that that's what I want to do here, is just really highlight, again, we're working with our bodies, we're working with our changing hormones. From a hormone perspective, some of the reasons that carb cycling are so important, a major one for women in perimenopause is for progesterone. We need carbohydrates to build progesterone. And so if you're going too low carb for too long, in a period of time where you're already seeing a decline in progesterone and you're estrogen dominant, it can cause some issues. Thyroid, we also need carbohydrates to shift inactive thyroid hormone into active thyroid hormone. And so again, in a period of our life where our thyroid is already potentially going to get triggered, going too low carb for too long can have an impact on our thyroid. And then the other one I threw in there, and there are more, but I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights. So leptin. So leptin is your satiety hormone. It's the hormone that tells your body, hey, guess what? I'm full. You don't need to eat anymore. And the more leptin we have, the easier it is to control our appetite. Now, when women diet, when they cut their calories, leptin goes down. This is a bad thing. And this is why when you go on a diet, when you're 2-3 weeks in and you're dreaming about like food, it probably has to do with this hormone. But also going too low carb for too long can also drive down leptin. And so when we add in carbohydrates, every once in a while, we can just have that little boost of leptin that goes up, that again gives us more control over our appetite. Gut health is also one of the other reasons that I think carb cycling is essential for women. When it comes to our gut health, we're feeding the bacteria in our gut via starch. Okay, so whether that be vegetables, fruit, or starchier stuff like grains, or even like potatoes, and every single different type of starch feeds different bacteria. It's like it gives them a little bit of something different. And when it comes to your gut health, there's 2 things that you have to remember. Number 1, you want to have more good gut bacteria than bad, and number 2, you want diversity. And so by incorporating carbs in a cyclical fashion, we're also making sure that we're feeding that bacteria in our gut and we're supporting gut health, which is important for so many reasons that we won't get into right now. And then finally, and this is a really big one, is mindset. And again, if you have been, on and off diets for the past 10, 20 years of your life, what an effect dieting has on your mindset. and how hard it can be when you create rules and you deprive yourself and you're relying on willpower, and then you're on a diet, and then you suddenly have like a moment where you go off and you get the screw its or whatever it may be, and then suddenly like you spiral out of control. And I do think that if we go too low carb too long, that can certainly happen. I talk to women all the time about this. It's like, and that happened to me when I first went low carb, as I was like, I can't touch carbs. I feel so fantastic. And then when I did, I was like, oh God, I don't want to cut them out again. But carb cycling gives you that flexibility of being like, I'm eating them, I'm not eating them. I'm eating them, I'm eating them. And ultimately, one of the goals, I believe, is not to eliminate carbs completely. Yes, low carb works really well for women, but I don't think that we necessarily need to take it to extremes. We need to figure out our own unique tolerance for carbohydrates. And for some women, that's going to be 150 grams a day. For some women, it's going to be 100. For some women, it's going to be 50. For some women, it's going to be even less than that. But the goal is to figure out your unique tolerance. And on that topic, if you do shift to lower carb and you get more metabolically healthy, then there's a good chance that your tolerance for carbohydrates will grow over time. And so I just think carb cycling is a great way of getting all of the benefits of low carb and getting to eat some of your favorite foods. Okay. Or just, smart carbs, or what I call smart carbs. They're just healthy carbs, right? Like fruit and sweet potatoes and carrots and beets and whatever else. So that's step number 4. And then that was step number 3. And then step number 4 is this concept of intermittent energy restriction. And again, I'm repeating some of the same concepts here because really ultimately this is what it boils down to. But chronic caloric restriction, which is most diets, what it can do is it can cause these metabolic adaptations that essentially drive us to eat and slow down our metabolism. And that will make weight loss harder, if not impossible, over time. And I have done trainings on this one too, of just explaining when we go into chronic caloric restriction, what happens to our hormones, and why literally our metabolism slows down. And it slows down to meet us at where we're at. So maybe we start restricting to 1,500 calories and our metabolism slows down to 1,500. And then maybe we decide to go to 1,200. And so our metabolism slows down again. And we keep doing this until ultimately we have nowhere left to go. And on top of that, we're probably like biting our nails because we're using our willpower and our hormones, and our body is literally driving us to go to the fridge and eat more food. And so it just makes like when you're going like in these extreme chronic diets, it makes it harder and harder and harder. But there's a way out of this, and it's called intermittent energy restriction. And what it does when it's done properly is it allows you to have continued weight loss without slowing down your metabolism and without having these metabolic adaptations. And what it does is it actually utilizes the adaptive nature of the metabolism, because if the metabolism can downregulate, it can also upregulate, or if it can slow down, it can also speed up. So basically what this is about having periods of time where you create a deficit, a caloric deficit, and periods of time where you back off. And then periods of time when you create a deficit and periods of time when you back off. And you can do this weekly, you can do it bi-weekly, you could do cycles where you're doing like weight loss, and then cycles where you do what's called a diet break, where you give the metabolism a chance to upregulate again and you go back to maintenance. There's lots of different ways of doing this. But the point being is that if you just go like pushing on the metabolism, fat loss, and you're just restricting, at some point your body will be like, no, not any longer. Sorry, not going there. And so again, we have to take these different things into consideration. And this is part of, again, what I was saying at the beginning when it comes to the PBS method. So I'm looking to optimize metabolism. this is one of the key ways I do that. This is one of the key ways that I encourage women to cycle through their different phases in their weight loss to protect their metabolic health. Okay, so just touching on them, I want to show you a couple of the women that have been using this method. So this is a woman who came to me with a history of hypothyroidism, with a history of adrenal fatigue, with some major inflammation, and adopted the PBS method, so the low carb formula with the hormone sensitive fasting, carb cycling, as well as intermittent energy restriction. This woman went on to lose almost 18 pounds in the first 14 weeks of using this method. One of the really cool things about this woman is, and I didn't really have a chance to talk about workouts today, but one of the things that I asked her to do was, I was like, okay, no more high intensity cardio, no more moderate cardio, no more pushing yourself as hard as you can at the gym. It's too stressful on your body. And sure enough, by working out less and changing her nutrition, we managed to get her some awesome results. This is another one of my clients, and this woman reached out to me in August. And her doctor had just told her that she was pre-diabetic, which is a very scary diagnosis. And again, if you're in your early 40s, here's something you need to know is that, type 2 diabetes is extremely common in women post-menopause, which once again is because estrogen has this protective mechanism on our insulin resistance, right? And women develop insulin resistance. So anyways, this woman adopted the PBS method, and about 14 weeks later was down 30 pounds, which is incredible. Not typical. I'm going to put that out there. I am not about quick results, but for some women who have a lot of weight to lose, the results can come faster. If you only have about 30 pounds total to lose, you're not going to lose that in 14 weeks. So I just want to put that out there. But still fantastic to see that 30-pound weight loss. And also, went back to her doctor, and her doctor was like, wow, your blood work is like so much better. Keep doing what you're doing. So always nice when you get doctor's approval. And then this is another woman, and this is, I want to show you like how this works for different women as well, because it really does work for different body types. And so this woman, as you can see, never like always quite a petite woman, but a woman who gained a lot of weight around her stomach, which is where for so many women it becomes problematic. I forgot to change the description on the left, so just ignore that. But anyways, this is a woman, this is a typical woman who is like, I didn't change anything about how I've been eating, and now suddenly my body is changing and it's not working anymore. And her habits from her 30s, some of which were maybe not the best, were catching up to her. And so she just really needed how to change her nutrition and how to eat for her now body, not her I'm 30 body. And she ended up also, how many did she lose? I didn't put in hers. I'm trying to remember. Anyways, but you can see her body composition changing, a lot of weight loss around the belly, which is ultimately pretty much every single woman that comes to see me is like, how do I lose weight around my belly? So that is that last little one. So that's where we're at. If this resonates, if you're like, okay, I really want to learn more about this, there's 3 ways that I can help you out. Number 1 is watch my free workshops, right? I have been doing free workshops now for over a year, I think, inside this group, every single Friday on these topics. You can go and dig and find them and read them. There are women in this group that are getting weight loss just from the workshops, from implementing the information that I'm teaching them. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this group. I really created it as an educational group. And, I really just my personal mission is to help women get off 1,200 calorie diets. And so a lot of these workshops will teach you how to do that. If you don't know where to start, I did a series all about hormones that you could watch. And I also did a series on some of the top mistakes that women over 40 make when they're trying to lose weight. I would probably start there. And that will dive into some of what we talked about today. And if you don't know where to find them, you can just send me a message and I'll direct you into where you can find those. The next thing you can do is, I do have like a mini program. It's called the Little Black Dress Project. It's a 6-week program and it will teach you about low carb nutrition. It doesn't do the whole PBS formula, but it will teach you about low carb nutrition. You'll get meal plans and grocery lists. I'll teach you how to use fat as a lever to make sure you're getting enough calories. You'll learn how to cook in a different way. It's a great little program. It includes group coaching. It's just 6 weeks and it's just $99. So it's a very minimal investment. And our next one starts on February the 7th. So in about 3 weeks. So you've got plenty of time to sign up. If that's of interest, just put Little Black Dress in the comments and I will send you that link. And then finally, if you feel like you need support in doing all of this, then I would highly recommend that you apply for my personal coaching program. And again, you can certainly just use the free advice. It's all out there. I'm an open book, but some women need the extra support. Some women need the accountability. Some women need to work on mindset. Some women just want to be told exactly what to do, like step by step by step. If that is you, then the personal coaching program might be the right fit, because I'm basically going to walk you through the perimenopause body solutions method step by step, with a structured nutrition calendar, a structured workout calendar, and all the one-on-one coaching that you need. So if that is of interest, you can either put personal coaching in the comments or you can reach out to me and I'll tell you about next steps. But there you have it. I wanted to give you like a bird's eye view. And if you're new here, give you a little bit of a sense of who I am and what I do, so that you can decide if this is something you want to learn more about, if you think this group is going to be of benefit to you. And that is it for today. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to start doing this once a month because I know we're constantly having new members come in, and you may not know where to start. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.